So we're doing some different things if you're the first semester doing this with me. I've thrown everything out the window basically, and I'm starting over. And I do not like how the class was going. It was boring AF, and it wasn't really preparing you for the next class. And I've decided to switch things up a bit. As I'm going through, this is the lecture from today, and it wasn't even a lecture. I do a problem, and then I want you to do the ones after it. And as you come across problems, if you don't pause the video and do it without me, when you come back and watch me do it, if you haven't tried it yourself, you're not going to learn anything. So you have to try, you have to see what's happening, you have to be able to ask questions and think through, okay, this is how I did it. And to learn, you have to say, okay, this is how Sandra did it. And if it's different, if you get the same answer, awesome. Okay, but otherwise, let's try something different. Okay. So I provided this in class today, and if you weren't in class, I will upload one to Brightspace so that you have it, because this is the lecture notes, and I don't expect you to print it off because I do hand out copies now. You could always just write it down, whatever. I hand out homework now too. Homework's not on my open math anymore. We're going to do things quite differently. Instead, you're going to do homework on paper and you're going to turn it in. So I also handed out the homework from this today. I will upload that to Brightspace as well. And then you can, if you weren't in class, you can print it off and bring it in, or you can pick up a copy from me. Okay. I do not expect you to have to print anything else unless you miss a class. All right. We're going to start with percentages, and I'm going to give you everything you need to prepare you for, or it's just kind of a taste. It's a concept of everything you're going to see in problem solving, which is the next class you take after mine. Okay. And my goal is for you to already have a good foundation so that when you learn something new in that class, it won't throw you for a loop. You'll already have a good foundation because you will have already seen it, and we've already prepared going into problem solving. Okay. That's strictly what I'm going to be doing from here on out, is things that you're going to be seeing problem solving. So with problem solving, I literally start off my class just like this. So if you've already done this, you're going to have a good setup for it. A percent is a fraction whose denominator is 100. Okay. So no matter what the number is, you take the number in front of the percent sign and put it over 100. If it's a decimal, we'll deal with it later. Right now, we're strictly going to deal with whole numbers for this part. Okay. And it says write each percent as a fraction. All that is taking the number in front of the percent and putting it over 100. To go from a percent to a fraction, you just divide it by 100. You put it over 100. Now, we could talk about things like reducing and stuff like that, but right now, I just want you to get the concept that this makes from a percent to a fraction. Okay. I want you to pause the video and do the next 3, and then come back and check to see if you got the same answers as me. Okay. All right. Hopefully you paused, because now I'm just going to put all of these over 100. Okay. And to change a percent to a fraction, I put the number in front of the percent over 100. Not reducing. Those are what I am representing as a fraction. Okay. It doesn't say reduced fraction, just a fraction. We'll get to the reducing later. All right. To convert a percent to a decimal, you divide by 100 and remove the percent sign. So convert each percent to a decimal. I'm going to take the 9. I'm going to divide it by 100 on my calculator. And I don't need to write this down, but I want you to, just so that you know what to do. 9 divided by 100. And I get a decimal. 0.09. Notice that the percent is gone. It is just 0.09. You're going to have to do this a lot once you get to problem solving, probably 100 times at least. Okay. So take the number in front of the percent, get rid of the percent sign, divide it by 100 on your calculator, and hit equals. And that's going to be your decimal. Go ahead and do that. Pause the video and then come back and see me. Okay. So 2, I'm going to divide by 100. 2 divided by 100 is 0.02. Same thing for the next one. 71 divided by 100, get rid of the percent sign, and that's 0.71. The reason I put a 0 in front is so that you know that it's a decimal, okay? Because sometimes if you put 0.71, some of you write so light, I can't see the decimal here, and it could be wrong. So please put a 0 in front of the decimal. 125. Divide that by 100, and you get 1.25. Notice I'm not saying move your decimal left or right. That is not math. Math is divide by 100. It makes sense. You can't get confused by moving left or right, as I did growing up. And then last is 250 divided by 100. Put that in your calculator, and you get what? 2.50. Okay. Let's keep going. These are a little bit different because these have decimals. So we're going to do the same thing though. Nothing is going to change to go from a percent to a decimal. And I'm going to write it a little bit differently though. You're going to take 39.3. You're going to divide it by 100 and hit equals. That's all you're going to do here. 30, and you could do the same thing for the last ones. 39.3 divided by 100. We've now gotten rid of the percent sign, and our answer is 0.393. We are not getting rid of any of the values yet. Okay. Next is 6.4%. So take 6.4, divide it by 100 in your calculator, and hit equals. And it's 0.064, so 0.064. Same thing with 18.4. Okay, so that's going to be 18.4 divided by 100 is 0.184. And then the last one is 37.5%, changing to a decimal is 37.5 divided by 100 equals, and that's 0.375. Now we've got some word problems. Not that exciting. It's just very simple. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to convert each percent into a decimal. It says in 2000, 4.2% of the United States population was of Asian descent. I don't know which is better. I think the light. So when I say to convert each percent into a decimal, you're looking for a number with a percent sign. That's the only number you're looking for in this sentence. And in this case, it is 4.2. So all you have to do is isolate the percent. So I'm going to take 4.2% and change it into a decimal, doing the same exact thing we did up here. I'm going to take 4.2, divide it by 100, and hit equals. And I get 0.042. Okay. I think that is worse. There we go. The next one, it says, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, among Americans aged 25 or older who had doctorate degrees in 2014, 37.1% of them are women. Fantastic. So the question is, we want to convert each percent into a decimal. I need to find my percent. Here's my percent. Ignore everything else and just use your percent. And let's change that to a decimal. Pause the video and attempt to do this for this one as well as the next two, and then come back and see how you did. Okay. I'm going to take 37.1%. And I'm going to take 37.1, put it in my calculator, divide it by 100 to change it to a decimal. And it becomes 0.371. All right, let's go to the next one. Javier will choose one digit at random from 0 through 9. The probability he will choose 3 is 10%. So again, I need the percent to change it to a decimal. So 10%, 10 divided by 100 is 0.1. Okay. A club sells 50 tickets to a raffle. Osvaldo bought 1 ticket. The probability he will win the raffle is 2%. So there's my percent. We're going to change the 2% to a decimal. 2 divided by 100 is equal to 0.02. All right. To convert from decimals to percents, we're going to multiply the decimal by 100. Now we're going to go the opposite direction. We're going to take the decimal and make it a percent by multiplying the decimal by 100 or multiplying the number by 100. It doesn't even have to be a decimal. It could just be any number, and then adding the percent sign. All right. So be careful here. This is 17. This is 18. So this is just supposed to be 0.03. And to convert it from the 0.03 to a percent, we have to multiply it by 100 and add the percent sign. 0.03 times 100 is 30. And then add the percent sign. There's my answer. Let's continue. I want you to pause the video and attempt the next ones. Maybe the next 3. How's that? Just do the next 3. We're taking the decimal 0.15 and converting it to a percent. So pause the video and then come back and see how you did. Times 100 is 15, and then add the percent sign. This is actually 1.56 times 100 is 156, and then add the percent sign. This should have been 0.4 or 0.4 times 100 is 40, and add the percent sign. This next one threw some students for a loop. I want you to attempt this one by yourself and then come back to see how I did it. Okay. So 0.008, and we're converting it to a percent. I'm going to do the same thing times 100, and I got 0.8, but I need a percent sign. It is okay that it is a decimal. It's still a percent because we multiplied it by 100. It's just a very tiny percent. Okay. Same thing for the next one, 23. You're going to get a very different number. It's not like the whole numbers we've been dealing with. I'm going to take 0.0625 times 100, and that's equal to 6.25, and then add the percent sign. 2.2 times 100 is 220, and then add the percent sign. And then the last one for this is 2.317 times 100 is 231.7, and then add the percent sign. Now we're going to convert from a fraction to a percent. And I gave you a few more steps to help with this. You're going to divide your fraction and hit equal sign. You're going to pause. Do not clear your screen. you're going to go straight from that and you're just going to hit multiply. You're going to times 100 equals, and then add your percent sign. I'll show you what I mean. You're going to take 1 divided by 5. This is how you do this. Take a fraction to a percent. And I got what? 1 divided by 5 is 0.2. You can write that down if you want to, or you don't have to. But the most important thing is that you, at this point, do not clear your screen and just hit multiply by 100. So I got 0.2, and I'm going to multiply it by 100 and hit equals. Times 100 equals, and I got 20. So this is 20%. Pause the video and do the next 4. Well, we'll see. Do at least a couple of them. We'll see what we get. I think these are going to give us some fun ones. So 5 divided by 8 equals 0.625. Do not clear your calculator. Just multiply that. Learn to use your calculator, because this is going to do so much for you next semester. And once you get a good handle on how to use it, it's going to make life so much easier. So now we're just going to multiply that times 100, and we get 62.5. Now all we have to do is add the percent sign. Make sure you're answering with what they want. We're doing with the percent. The next is 9 divided by 8. And that's 1.125 times 100. Again, leave it in your calculator. Times 100 equals, and I got 112.5. Okay. We'll do the same thing with 5/12. If you haven't had a chance to do it, go ahead and do 5 divided by 12. Please do these with me if you haven't done it. And let's see what we get. 5 divided by 12 equals, ooh, that's a number. So let's talk about this. You're going to leave that number in there. In fact, I'm not even going to write it down, because that's a lot, and I don't want to write that down. I mean, I could write 0.416 because and put a line over the 6, which means the 6 continues forever. Even though it shows a 7 in here, the 6 is actually the 6 is actually the only thing. It's continuously a 6 the entire way. They're rounding. Your calculator is rounding for you. And you're going to leave that number in there. Do not clear your calculator like I just did by mistake. And now we're just going to multiply that by 100. You don't ever round until you get to your final answer. And this is my final answer. And I got 41.6 with a line over it percent. Now's the time I want to go over rounding. All right. But again, you do not round here, because that's not your answer. Your answer is this one. So if we didn't want to answer with a line over it, instead you could say, okay, our class decided, which we did today, that we were going to round to the first place value. And this first place value is called the tenths. So we've decided to round to the tenths place, the first place value. When I explain rounding, that means that first 6 right here, the round is called our rounding digit. Okay. The number directly to the right is called the test digit. If the test digit, so if TD is 5 or greater, you're going to add 1 to rounding digit. If your, we could write that differently, I guess. If your test digit is 4 or less, I'm going to write 5 or greater. 5 or greater is 4 or less. You leave as is. Leave it alone. Okay. In this case, our test digit is greater than 5. So we need to add 1 to our rounding digit. And so our answer is 41.7%. Okay. You'll get more practice on this, I promise. All right, last page. This is another one that's going to give us a crazy answer. I'm going to go 3 divided by 7 equals. I'm not going to write the answer down probably. Nope, I am not. What I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just multiply by 100 to get the final answer. So my final answer is 42.85. That's as far as I need to go. 42.85. 42.85%. We decided to round to the 10th place, 1 digit to the right of the decimal. That's my rounding digit. The number just to the right of that is my test digit. My test digit is 5, so I have to add 1 to my rounding digit. So my answer is 42.9%. Notice the 5 and everything else went away. The only thing you represent when you round is the number up to the rounding digit, and then anything else to the right becomes zeros. They disappear if they're to the right of the decimal, or if they're to the left of the decimal, they just create zeros. The next one is 5 divided by 9. Attempt this one yourself. This is what you're going to do. 5 divided by 9 equals times 100 equals 5 divided by 9 equals times 100 equals, and I got 55.55. And this is a percent. 5, this 5 is my rounding digit. This 5 is my test digit. My test digit is 5, so I'm going to add 1 to my rounding digit. My final answer is 55.6%. Okay. Now we're going to convert each fraction to a percent. This is the exact same thing we just did. 1/4 of washing machines needed repair. I'm going to take my fraction, the 1/4, and I'm going to go 1 divided by 4 equals times 100 equals. 1 divided by 4 equals 0.25. Make sure you're in sync with me. And now I'm going to multiply times 100 equals. And I got 25. So the answer is 25, but do not forget your percent sign. So the thing is 25% of washing machines needed repair. Okay. According to the National Center for Health Statistics, in 2012, 7/20 of American adults were obese. So we need the fraction. We're going from a fraction to a percent. So 7/20, we're going to take 7 and divide it by 20 equals times 100 equals 7 divided by 20 equals 0.35 times 100 equals, and I got 35%. Now in class, we got through the majority of this, but we removed the 2. 2 wasn't fun for me. I don't like how that turned out with the decimal, because 2 is just 2. So I could have left it as 2 and then 200%, but I just think it would confuse more. So let's fill this in whichever capacity you want. I'm going to suggest maybe you go decimal to percent, and percent to decimal. Start with those 3. That's what I'm going to do first. And then I'll move things around. Okay. 0.45 to make it a percent is 0.45 times 100, which is 45%. Don't forget your percent sign. 0.008 to become a percent is equal to 0.8%. Okay, let's go from a percent to a decimal. To do that, it's going to be 18 divided by 100. Oh. And that's 0.18. Okay. Now we're only dealing with the fractional portions as far as getting stuff taken care of. Let's go from 1/2 to a decimal to a percent. 1/2 to a decimal is just 1 divided by 2 equals 0.5. To change to a percent, you multiply times 100. And I got 50. 1/3 to a decimal is just 1 divided by 3 equals, and that's 0.3 continuous. If it helps, you can give it a couple of them in there. And then don't erase your calculator. Change it to a percent by multiplying by 100. And I got 33.33%. 33.33%. But again, we decided to round to the 10th place so that this 3 right here is my rounding digit. This 3 right here is my test digit. My test digit is less than 5. It's 3. So that means I'm going to just remove everything to the right and leave this one alone. So it's just 33.3%. Okay, to go from a percent to a decimal to a fraction. All you need to do. I wonder if I want to explain this differently. I think I do. I think I'm going to change how I explain this tomorrow whenever we go back to class. So when I explain this, to go from a percent to a decimal, we divided by 100, right? So whenever you go from a decimal to a fraction, you need to count how many place values there are. And that's how many zeros you're going to have in your fraction with a 1 in front of it. And then you're just going to put 45 in the numerator. So this is 45 over 100 because the 4, 5 gives us 2 place values for our 100. I want to do the same thing for this next one down here. I've got 1, 2, 3 numbers to the right of the decimal. If there's a 0 over here to the right, I do not count it. Once the final number is an actual number besides 0, that's where we stop. So this one has 3 zeros or 3 numbers. So this is going to be over 1,000. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 with the 1 in front of it. And you're just going to put the number 8 in the numerator. Okay. Now, down here, I didn't do this in class. And I do not think I have a, what is that? A eraser here. So a decimal for 2 is just 2. And then the percent is 2 times 100, which is 200%. Okay. We did not do everyday math. We're going to come back and do that tomorrow. So I want to make sure that you get a chance to see it today. Now, this is the first time I'm going over this, so it could be different if you're in one of my classes that is not happening in the fall of 2025. Savings, Ryan has 25% of each paycheck automatically deposited in his savings account. Ryan is trying to save some money. The first thing we want to do is write 25% as a fraction. Okay, and we've done that. We can write 25% as a fraction. It's just 25 over 100. Okay, done. That's my answer for that one. I didn't round. I didn't reduce. It's just 25 over 100. Okay. If I wanted to write it as a decimal, it would become 0.25. It says use your answer from A to find the amount that goes to savings for Ryan's $2,400 paycheck. I disagree with this. I'm going to have to change this up because I don't like that. Instead, I want you to write the percent as a decimal. So I'm so sorry. Let's go ahead and do this next. So we're going to write our percent as a decimal. So I'm going to take 25, divide it by 100, and put equals. And I get 0.25. Now, to find out the amount that goes into savings from Ryan's $2,400 paycheck, I'm going to call this C. You multiply. You multiply the decimal times 2,400. And let me show you why. 25 of Ryan's paycheck, and I'm going to put the number in here of $2,400, you cannot ever do a math problem with a percent symbol being shown. You have to always convert from a percent to a decimal. And this is what you're going to do in problem solving next year, is you're going to convert 25% to a decimal, and you're going to multiply that by 2,400 to find out how much of Ryan's paycheck is going in his savings. So I'm going to multiply this times 2,400. 0.25 times 2,400 is 600. So this is a word problem. You're going to say Ryan is saving, don't forget your dollar signs, $600. Okay, and that's it for the lecture for this one. Let me know what questions you have.